Oh, wonderful start. I got the cough right as I press start.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's beautiful. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi there.
Tonight we will be reviewing Soma. We
Hmm.
will be spoiling the crap out of this, so if you do not want Soma spoiled, do not listen to this podcast.
Yes, please play the
Otherwise,
game. It's very good.
yes. Otherwise,
Spoiler, the game is very good.
yes. Otherwise, let's get on with the show. My name is Chongo, otherwise known as Chanstein Hansen. I
My
do
name
art
is
online.
Graham.
Yeah.
You may call me Graham.
They call you like Uncle Graham, like that musician.
I don't know about that. I don't know what that is. Are you referencing something in particular?
That one musician, that guy who made that song was like, "Follow me and everything is alright."
I've
That guy.
never heard.
Anyways, let's talk about Soma.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a big fan of frictional games. Been a fan since Penumbra. Really liked Amnesia. I was middling on Machine for Pigs, and I
Well,
I
Machine
th-
for Pigs wasn't exactly fictional. It was also Chinese Room who did Dear Esther.
that's true. That's true.
I
It
think that's correct.
Yeah.
I believe so.
The problem really with that game was they hyped it so much and then it just wasn't what they promised.
Hmm.
They were just like, "Oh, it's gonna be the scariest game ever, and it's gonna have the most things ever, and it's gonna be so great," and it wasn't. I mean, it
Excuse me.
had less monsters than the first Amnesia, had less scares than the first Amnesia, and less features than the first Amnesia. Had no inventory, had no picking up shit. Most of the puzzles were super easy. And I found a lot of the time, like when there was quote unquote jump scares, I could just walk through them, and like all those scenes where it's like, oh god, the monster's coming, I could just like stand there and nothing would happen.
There's no like collecting matches and lantern oil and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's no urgency.
Hmm. Well,
Like,
that's weird.
yeah. Anyways, this is not the Amnesia Machine for Pigs podcast. This is the Soma podcast.
Yes.
I gotta
Some
say, I think
cats.
Soma is their best game yet.
Yes, I agree. I would have to agree with
hmm
that.
I think it has one of the strongest openings in from any of their series.
Is that just because you're Canadian?
Maybe.
Hmm.
I also think the environments they build are a lot stronger than all their other games. They felt like real places instead of being, maps.
Yeah, it felt physical. You weren't just cooped up in a mansion or something and then going
hmm
into a dungeon.
Yeah. I mean,
You made progress. You certainly walked around a
yeah.
lot. There's a lot of walking in that game, a lot of walking under the ocean. If you are very claustrophobic and have a sense of drowning whenever you're underground, like if say if you played BioShock and you had that feeling, this game is
Yeah.
not for you.
hmm
Yeah.
This is a horror game to say the least. A lot of people were like, "Oh, it's a send off. It's more of a sci-fi," which
Uh-huh.
maybe I agree with, but it definitely had a lot more urgency, a lot more scares than Machine for Pigs. So,
I haven't played Amnesia. I have not played a Machine for Pigs. I
have you
played
played?
a little bit of the first Penumbra,
Yeah.
but that's about it. I saw some of Penumbra in spoiler. There's like some giant worm or something that
Oh, I've
happens.
played all of it. I've played
Yeah,
all their games.
I liked it, but I just never got very far. Maybe I was too spooked. I don't remember, or maybe it just
Yeah.
didn't run very well on my computer at the time.
The first one had the first Penumbra to be exact had a really bad fighting mechanic where
You had to
it
like charge up like this pickaxe you had, and then try to hit this dog. And if you didn't hit the dog, you would die instantly. I think.
not instantly, but it was very unfair.
Yeah.
It used their their weird swinging of doors mechanic for the weaponry, which was so bad. I'm really glad they took it out of the second one.
Are they still using that same engine they've been using this whole time?
I think it's been updated. I think they from Penumbra, Amnesia updated it, and then Machine for Pigs updated it, and Soma is I think the biggest update.
Hmm. Soma looks very good. It's a
Mhm.
very attractive game.
It is. I mean, from the very start, that apartment you wake up in has so much to do and so much interactivity. It's
Yeah,
just
I stood in the apartment for about like 10 minutes or so, and just
I
looking at like all the random stuff.
I tried
Mostly
cleaning
because
the
I couldn't
apartment.
find the brain stuff that the doctor asked you to drink.
Yeah, the tracer fluid.
Tracer fluid. That sounds familiar, almost like it's a real thing, but I'm not sure.
Um, there are like certain types of tracer fluids that are used. They're mainly for people who are needing X-rays or need to find things in
MRIs or
bot.
something?
Yeah, it's basically makes it easier to find foreign bodies inside of you
Okay.
because it's kind of like putting like a gray background on a piece of art so it's easier to see the other colors.
Huh, okay. That's neat.
Anyways, yeah, I what I really liked was I found out after watching a few Let's Plays that the placement of the tracer fluid in your apartment is randomized. It's
Oh,
never
it
going to be in
is?
the same place.
I don't remember where mine was. I think it was uh, in the cupboard or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, mine was at the in the drawer beside the computer.
Yeah, I think that might have been where mine was. I really don't remember. Yeah, I haven't played the beginning of that in about a month. I took a bit of a break, but then I finished up for this podcast.
Yeah. I played it in a pretty quick succession. I think it took me about a week and a half, about an hour and a half each playthrough.
I
And
think I. Let me see what my time on that game was.
yeah, let me check mine too.
10 hours is what I spent on that game.
Let's see. I think I got around. I keep putting my library on Steam to what I have installed because it's so infuriating just to look at all these uninstalled games and have to wait
I
that long.
have mine set up in little folders. Like
Ah,
I have a bunch of games I know I already like,
yeah.
and then which are under favorites, and I have ones that hey you should play these, which is like games I bought and probably should play soon because I
Yeah.
paid money for them.
I got 7 hours on Soma.
Oh, I guess I must have explored more than you. I don't know.
Musta.
Hmm.
Or maybe I'm just better at this game.
Maybe you're just a speedrunner. I don't know.
I am no speedrunner.
I doubt that.
I have never speedran a game. There was one time I streamed all of Hotline Miami 1, but that took me a while.
Hmm.
But
That's
anyways,
sad. Yeah, go
uh,
on.
what I really like about Soma is this is kind of the first time Frictional Games has put like other people and like player models in the game other than like their monsters. It
Or
makes
had
it.
actual voice acting.
Well, Penumbra had a
The
lot of voice acting.
Yeah, it had people reading off messages.
Had people reading
Or
off messages. There were people behind doors and on off screen.
hmm
There was that voice in your head.
hmm
There was the I believe the opening cutscene and the ending cutscene. But this is the first time where you actually get to physically see other people and they talk to you, interact with you, and it
Well,
makes
you
it
mostly
feel.
see their corpses, and then you read their logs of how they died, or
Well,
the
what I'm
most.
specifically talking about is the opening scene on the train, then meeting Dr. Munchie, and
Oh yeah,
then onwards to what you just said, all the people on logs and dead and computer stuff. I
yes,
mean,
dead computer stuff.
I really feel this is the strongest opening Frictional Games has ever had, just because it really lets you relax your way into it. It doesn't start out like Amnesia did, where it's immediately like, oh, this place is spooky. It kind of gives you a
Yes,
feeling like, oh, could be a place like I go, like from my apartment to train to like this
I'll
empty
take the
office.
I'll take the train, the Toronto train to Toronto Street, and then go
You,
down to Tim Hortons and grab me some Timbits.
you know, my favorite joke in the whole game is when what's her name calls it Vancouver by accident.
Oh yeah, Catherine.
Yeah, Catherine. 'Cause so many people do that.
I mean, that's the place people know about
Yeah.
in Canada, Canada.
Even Canadians like are constantly like, "Oh, sorry, I meant Toronto," because they're very similar places.
Yeah, I'm from TO.
Nice. I'm
I'm
from
not actually.
Alberta.
I'm closer to Vancouver than I am from Toronto.
I live in BC now, so like, I'm like a ferry ride over to Vancouver.
Uh,
But anyways,
wait,
what I want
Toronto.
now
Wait,
on to
never mind. Never mind. Let's not
yeah.
start talking about Canada. Let's start talking about
Yeah.
this game.
Yeah. So from that very soft opening, you get this feeling of the world. You get this feeling of what's going on, where we are in this timeline.
Just a
how
second, let me close my
far.
door.
Yeah, sure. Boop, boop, ba-doop, boop. Hey, hey, hey. Ba, 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 da, ba. She called me Mr. Modest. I
Go on.
flaunt it. Okay. So the opening gives you a very good sense of timeline, how much the world has progressed from where we are currently, and it gives this very world building feeling, which I think has been a product of making so many different games and finally having this kind of mastery of what they want to do with their games.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious what they'll do next. I'm sure they'll take a break or something.
My thought is maybe they'll make a prequel to Soma.
I don't know how well that would work.
I think it might work pretty well if like you did like what happened before all the shit happened with WoW.
I mean, it
And
kind of explains that. I mean, there's not much mystery there.
there's a little bit of mystery depending on what parts and which characters you look at.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean, I
there's
think that sort of thing should stay a mystery. Like
maybe
Ross, that Ross guy.
who?
Like, how is he? What's his deal, sort of thing. But I suppose that's just me.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, there's definitely room for an expansive universe in this setting. But maybe we should give a quick overview of what's going on in the Soma universe. So,
Sure.
so do you want to do that, or do you want me to do that?
I think I'll go over with that.
Yeah.
So I'll just give a brief couple minute summary of the game,
Yeah.
just leading up to the character Simon Jarrett
Mhm.
and how he ends up in this undersea lab, which is some research facility which shoots satellites into space with this giant space gun.
Mhm.
Prior to him waking up, apparently an asteroid or meteor or something, a large foreign object, hits the Earth and causes basically the whole
Armageddon.
surface of the Earth has become mostly molten.
Mhm.
And you see that during the ending credits, or when you see the satellite go flying off into the distance. You can see the Earth is definitely just like, this is fucked. There's nowhere for humans to be on here.
Yeah.
It's glassed, is if you could say that.
Mhm. So basically, after the meteor hits Earth, all of humanity is basically brought down to nothing, and the last survivors are
Are some
under.
people on an underwater base in the Pacific, I believe, or Atlantic? I think it's in the
Yes.
Pacific.
And as you wake up, you sort of realize this is far, far into the future of where you were, which I think is even better because it's hard to create a world where it seems like you're in the future, but even harder is it to make a game where you're in the future and then go farther into the future and have that be relatively accessible for the audience.
Hmm.
It definitely it was definitely a send off from where you were, this nice, clean, futuristic area, to this gritty, dark, like cyber, like flesh body horror room, and then
Yeah.
because it does very much feel like you're in space, and then you sort of slowly realize you're not in space and that you may be on Earth, and then you go back and you realize you're underwater, and you're in
Hmm.
this base where uh, humanity's last bastion of hope is this thing called the Ark, which is basically a gigantic hard drive that stores human consciousness. And from that, you can swap your consciousness from robot to robot,
Yeah.
or body to body, as it may be, with certain, uh, with certain surgeries or pieces of hardware on you.
Hmm.
And as you go through the game, the question of, well, what part of me left is human, or what part of me is my soul, which plays into the title Soma, which, if I'm correct in googling it right now, it It means an entirely different body from the original cell, the body distinct from the soul, mind, or psyche, which plays into the key concept of the game, which is basically what part of me is left if I just keep swapping from body to body.
Yeah.
And they have a really interesting a line of questioning with Catherine when you're in that gigantic tank thing going to the bottom of the ocean. You're like, if I died 100 years ago, is there going to be room for me now in heaven? Is there a heaven? What is a consciousness made of? Which I think is a pretty weird existential question that I don't think most media, let alone video games, has asked. I mean, the opening with the Philip K. Dick quote was definitely apropos. I thought it would be just another, oh, we wanted a deep quote for the beginning like they did at the beginning of Machine for Pigs.
Around a lot at the beginning of a lot of games.
But this one tied in a lot more than it did with Machine for Pigs when they said, oh, the only way to rid the pain of being human is to become a beast, which, I don't know, it was less effective because that quote was already used for Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
I haven't seen that movie.
It's a really good movie. It's
I've heard.
It's a weird pseudo-biography of Hunter S. Thompson.
That's cool.
Yeah. But anyways, the opening quote for Soma is, reality is that which, when you cease to believe in it, does not go away. Which is a very stark and harrowing idea in itself, and really plays into this subject of, well, you can be in one permanent body and switch yourself to these robotic bodies and to these other entities altogether, and still be in the other one. And it doesn't matter at what point you change or what point you go back. You are this. You are
still you.
Yeah, you are still you, and you are still subsisting no matter at what point you ended in, say, 100 years ago, 5 minutes ago, 6 hours ago. You do not cease to be a part of this reality.
You can be copied and pasted as much as you want, as much as someone decides to, and you are still you. There can be 7 of you. There can be none of you because you isn't conscious, I suppose. But
I guess we've talked a lot about the concept of the sci-fi in this world enough. I think maybe we should talk more about the gameplay. Now, like Machine for Pigs, they did not use an inventory system as they did in the first Amnesia and as in the Penumbra series. But it did have a bit of a small inventory system with you can pick up certain items for the quote-unquote quests of the game. Go here, pick up 5 things, and come back.
Those are all contextual.
They're all contextual, and you can't really cycle through them and use them as items.
It's not an adventure game, as in you're trying everything on the locked door or something like that.
They're more like keys than they are items.
Yeah.
You get a certain amount, and then you get to go to the next section of the game.
They're little MacGuffins, I guess.
I'd say so, a little bit. They do tie in enough to have the next part using them make sense. Say in the underwater base when you have to get the high pressure diving suit, and there's a body still in it, and you have to transfer your mind from your current body to the next body.
Yeah.
It seemed to work just enough that you could realistically look at this world and say, okay, suspension of belief is enough that this makes sense.
Yeah.
Which is hard for a lot of sci-fi. A lot of sci-fi, I'm like, okay, that's bullshit. You can't do that.
But this one sort of builds the world around that, so it's sort of suspension of belief is.
And they have certain rules, and they have certain.
They make rules, so that suspension of belief is sort of not necessary.
Not only rules, but they have consequences for certain things. Like the error of continuity in the mind of the previous body when they see this new entity of themselves and they both have previous memories but go off in separate ways. It creates this distress in the mind, like which part of
Yes,
me
like
is me.
yes, like when Simon's mind transferred into the body of the woman who's in the diving suit, he's still his body, which is another one of Catherine's colleagues,
Hmm.
is still in another body that's over there and sitting in that chair.
Yes, you're a
And then
room away from your old body.
yes, you're like only like 10 feet away from your own body,
Hmm.
and then you arrive in this new body, and then you realize that oh wait, they didn't just move me; they copied me.
Hmm.
It's not.
It's not a
I,
one
I
to one.
yeah, it's not. You can't cut and paste your mind in this world. You have to copy, and then there's residual.
It's
There's
almost like a
another.
very low level form of cloning.
I suppose so. Cloning of the mind, cloning
Hmm.
of data. I mean, that's what this game's about. That's what the whole.
Soma, the body distinct from the soul, mind, or psyche.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in gameplay aspects, the monsters, I think it's a little bit of a problem that when when comparing it to Amnesia or Penumbra, these monsters are very much less effective physically, but a lot more effective visually.
Yeah,
They're scarier looking. The visual effects
yeah.
surrounding your vision when you see them.
As they get closer to you or start chasing you, or you look at their general direction,
You start
then
glitching out.
yeah, there's EMI, electromagnetic interference, which causes issues with your camera head because you're a robot,
Hmm.
or more or less a robot.
I guess cyborg would be the proper
I
term.
suppose so.
You have human parts, but you're not completely human.
Yes, but you're not you're at the same time you're not human. You don't have a head. Well,
You have certain body parts missing, replaced with robotics.
I mean, and we're just getting to the question of are we playing as a human, are we playing as a robot, or are we
No.
playing as a cyborg?
The
That's
the
a
game plays with that a
question.
lot too. Now, the problem I have with the monsters though is the interactions with them. If you get caught, you don't immediately die. You go unconscious and then they wander off and then you're safe
Yeah,
for a
they
bit.
knock you over,
Hmm.
and then if you can find a health pack, you get one more. You get to heal up again, and you get another hit.
Now the
But
problem was for me, it took a lot of the horror away because when you're caught, it's not really a horrific moment. It's almost easier to get caught once, have them move off to a different area, and then you just finish your task and then walk past them.
yeah, this game doesn't have the same mechanic that Amnesia does, where you have this sort of fear meter,
Yeah.
where if you like stop looking at a monster or you stay in the light, and the monster will just kind of disappear, and just that's it.
Yeah.
You don't have to deal with it anymore. It's more of an imagination thing.
One of my biggest problems was getting that the deep sea diving suit. Was there was that one monster who just wouldn't move, and a key item was right in front of it.
Oh yeah, that girl who was glowing blue, I believe.
Yes. Now,
Yeah,
the
I don't know
biggest
what you're
problem with
supposed to do
that
with
was,
that one.
well, I just walked up to them, they knocked me out, then they went to a different area, so I just picked up the item.
Yeah, and then they were standing there again.
Hmm. It's
But if
it.
you took another hit, you would have died. So I think I threw a pipe at her and then just ran around her.
I tried doing that, but she caught me.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
really don't know what you're supposed to do in that one to not get hit.
Hmm.
It's a bit of a pain
It is
because
a
you
bit
can't
of a
really
pain.
sneak past monsters since some of them they just kind of sit in one place.
They have a constant directory of where you are and kind of just always walk towards you unless you run far enough away and then hide.
Yeah, that reminds me of the when you're at the very bottom of the ocean, and then it's like right after you kill the WoW,
Ah, yes.
that part.
Hmm.
I don't. Is that optional? Do you have to kill the WoW? Do you not
I've
have to?
seen I've seen a lot of things that are you can go without killing the WoW, but I killed the WoW. I
Oh,
don't see
yeah.
why you wouldn't. The whole game, it's like the WoW is this
Hmm.
artificial intelligence who has prioritized the immortality of the the residents of this underwater base to the point where they become these horrific monsters that just cannot die.
Yeah. I mean, if we're gonna have a list of characters in 2015 in video games who did nothing wrong, the WoW would be on them.
The WoW would not be on there.
I mean,
The
it
WoW
would.
is
I
like,
mean, the WoW has the best intentions in mind, but at
well,
the same time, it's
if you can call them intentions, they don't have a personality. They don't have
I
a
mean, they're
line.
trying something. They made a choice.
I wouldn't really call it a choice. More, it is a
They're
misconduct
making
of
everyone
directions.
into the thing I mean, the thing.
Thing.
John Carpenter's The Thing,
Yeah.
where it's just like one organism, but actually it's multiple organisms all together, sort of thing. I believe that's what it's like.
I kind of would more put it as what's her name from System Shock,
Shodan.
Shodan.
I haven't gotten far enough into that game to remember that.
It's
But the
basically the
monsters
same
did
thing.
remind me a lot of the monsters in System Shock 2.
Yeah,
The hybrids, I think they were called.
yeah. It's pretty much the same thing. Shodan modified everyone on the spaceship to have robotic parts to serve their needs, whereas WoW kind of modified the humans to have robotic parts for the sake of keeping them alive as long as it possibly could.
Yeah.
I did like the idea that at the very start when they talk about WoW does not have a personality. WoW is not this being that has malicious intent. It is just unable to have this emotional disconnection from, the necessity of immortality to the necessity of retaining humanity.
Yeah. That's why it's one of the characters who did nothing wrong.
I don't even know if I would call it a character. I would more
It's a
call it
character.
a force of nature.
I mean the war rig in Mad Max is a character. I mean,
Maybe. I don't know.
George Miller straight up said that the war rig in Mad Max is a character. So
Okay, well, if he says that, I guess so. But in this game, they talk about the WoW not as a character, but more as an entity. They
I mean,
specifically say it is not a human. It does not have intelligence. It is a program.
I mean, Shodan is a character. I don't know what you're
Shodan
talking.
is definitely a character, but
The
within the
WoW, there's.
context of
I
the
mean, it doesn't
series,
have. I mean, does it have a personality? Not really, but
well, they specifically
still
say it does
a
not.
force or an entity that
Okay.
has some sort of effect on the character, the protagonist.
Let's just agree to disagree and have it.
Okay, sure.
Because let's not have the whole podcast be is WoW a character because that's kind of moot.
Yeah, I suppose so. And we'll be here for a while if we keep discussing that.
Now, another big offshoot from other games that Frictional had, you have a continuous character beside you in Soma.
Yeah,
What's her name?
Catherine.
Catherine. I'm terrible with names.
Catherine something.
Now,
You only ever talk to her whenever you plug her into one of the computers.
that's true.
Which was like, oh man, I really want to talk to her right now, but because I was very lonely or something, or I felt lost or something. It's like, hey, Catherine, what the fuck do I do?
That's
I
true.
mean, sometimes you can plug her into a terminal and then she'll stay there, and you can walk around the little walled off facility, and then she'll speak over intercoms, which happens a couple times.
Now, I think the best part of it was that she is an absolute necessity to bring forth some of the points that that Frictional game wants to put out, because she is a distinctive entity that no longer has a human body, that isn't having this existential lament like you are. She's gotten past that and kind of accepts her fate as this entity outside of humanity.
She seems to be one of the few people on the what is it? What's the name of the whole facility as a whole? Is it the Epsilon?
There's different ones.
I mean, the whole facility as a whole. What's it called?
I don't know.
Let's
You're
just call
asking
it.
the wrong
Just call it
person.
C Lab or something.
Yeah, C Lab 2012,
Sure.
2015, whatever that show was.
Yeah, it's
C
just
Lab.
called C Lab, I believe.
Okay. Anyways, uh, She is a really interesting character because she is kind of the opposite of what you are, and she's resigned to her fate of being this bodiless entity with a consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas you are still freaking out at this idea that I am no longer human, I am no longer a soul, I am no longer an entity that is
Sure. I mean,
resembling a human.
sure, you're a brain scan from the year 2015. It's about 100 years later, or no, 110 years later. No,
It's a pretty
90, 90.
they say they I remember a lot of lines where they're like about 100 years.
It was 2015, and the game takes place in 2105.
So roughly 90 years.
Yeah, about 90 years.
Yeah. But anyways, the whole mystery going in is why am I on this ship? What am I doing here? And then you get to this pinnacle point where you realize that you were pretty much the first brain scan ever.
Yeah, of those, I mean, Munchie did one on him, but I don't think he ever meet him again.
Well, you read that one thing where you got Dr. Bunchy, but no one really used him because he wasn't as important as like you. The
Yeah, yours was
first.
apparently had to be was really you had to be the cool guy, and
Yeah.
you
You
were
were
the
basically
hero,
the beta.
the
You were the
chosen
beta.
one.
Yeah. So they brought you onto the ship just because you were a very good test for bringing in a brain scan and proving that it can be done.
Yeah, Catherine was using that with her research.
And that's why you're there, not because
Apparently, you get a choice to delete Munchie's memory, or is it yours?
you can do both.
Yeah, I don't think I did either. I think I just left him.
Yeah, I left them too. Which
I'm not sure what that did.
it doesn't do anything
I mean,
if
it
you
doesn't
think
do
about it,
anything, it's just
because
a
by
choice.
the end of the game, there's no one left. There's no one left to do another brain scan. You're all on the Ark.
Yeah.
Which is a kind of terrifying prospect if you think about it. There's the only bastion of humanity left is this gigantic hard drive full of human intelligence.
Yeah, they're all playing on an MMO server or something.
Yeah. That post-credit ending, that it did really feel like I don't know, like EVE Online or something.
It just felt like Oblivion. I mean, that cave just looked like Oblivion to me.
I guess, I mean, I was less thinking about the cave, more of that gigantic like sci-fi city on the ocean.
Yeah, I don't know how many crew are in there. I assume they got all the scans, or as many as they could, onto
They
the
talk
Ark.
about having everyone that they scanned on that Ark.
Yeah, but there are some people who I think they didn't get scanned, or they stopped the scans because people kept killing themselves afterwards.
Yeah. Well, what I think is because you get that survey that asks, would you like to be ejected and just die? I think a lot of people just chose, you know what, I don't want to be a part of the Ark anymore. I don't want eternal life in this Matrix-like existence. I want to
Yeah.
I want to end. I want to die.
Yeah, they gave you that quiz again at the post credits, but I just left it the way it is.
I answered it honestly both times.
Yeah.
At
Did
first
your
I
answers
was like,
change?
yeah, my answers definitely changed.
Hmm.
It went from being like, I don't want to be here, I'm scared, to like, yeah, this place is pretty cool.
I think I was pretty understanding at on the first one,
Yeah.
because I think I knew the nature of this game already.
I always go in kind of as if I was the character and what I want to do. Unless the game has like a preset, like in LA Noire, when it gives you the option to be like, do you want to be a good cop or a bad cop?
Doubt or lie or whatever.
Or like, do you want to arrest him or do you want to just let him go? It's just like, well, Cole is like an up and up like true blue cop. Like he's not just
No,
gonna
I
let
want
somebody
to
go.
shoot him.
Well, maybe you do, but like I would be like, well, Cole wouldn't do that unless like someone made him, i.e. me.
Yeah, I haven't played that game. There's another game I haven't played.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay. I mean, I've heard things about it, good things about it.
It's okay. It's definitely no Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same engine, but that's not what it is.
I did like that one part where you arrest somebody for Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Is that a neat little reference?
It was a little reference, just a tiny one.
Okay. That's cute.
It was pretty cute. But
Yeah.
this is not the Grand Theft Auto LA Noire podcast.
No. This is the
Soma.
Soma combat. Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
What part scared you the most in Soma?
I'd say the sunken submarine.
Yeah?
Yeah, because those things just can't kill you instantly. It wasn't like two hits and you're dead. It
Ah.
was like, this is some fucking. This guy has his fucking cock out. He's ready to go.
I don't think I saw a penis on any of them.
I think there was
I
on
looked
the.
hard. I did not see one cock.
I mean, it was just like this water bloated corpse with a bunch of WoW stuff on it,
Yeah.
and it fucking killed you. That was the first time I died in the game. I was like, oh, that's how you die.
The scariest part for me was when you got that voice in your head near the end and you started like getting the pop-up of that one monster that kind of just faded in and out of existence.
I mean, Ross.
Yeah, Ross.
If you have the subtitles on, it says his name is Ross.
Fuck Ross. He scared me.
He didn't bother me that much.
Well, it was just I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it was like close to the butt end of the game
I don't
and
know what
suddenly
his
you're going crazy.
I don't know what his deal is.
Yeah,
I don't know how he has
I
the
thought it
ability
was the
to
WoW at
teleport.
first.
Yeah, I mean, no, I assumed it was just like some sort of experimentation. I mean, maybe it's the log I missed that explains what his deal is.
I never
But he
found an
was the one who
explanation.
first caught on to what the WoW was planning to do after
Yeah.
the meteor hit.
See, what I thought initially, because you heal through the WoW, that little like butthole that you stick your hand in,
Yeah.
they had to have known it looked like you were fisting somebody. I
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
why they stuck with that. I mean, there's so many different ways you could have done that.
I mean, that's how you kill the WoW, is you fist it.
Yeah. It
And then you
was
lose a hand.
so my thought
And somehow your
was,
diving suit still works even though there's a giant hole in it, so I don't know.
yeah, I don't know.
Explain that.
I don't know. I can't. Like,
Explain
my
that.
initial thought with Ross when he was in your head was that the WoW was transmitting through you because you had used it to heal yourself so much.
Hmm.
But I guess not. And there was no real explanation why Ross had this telepathy power over you and
No, it's
why
just
he made you see monsters.
or why he teleported around, or why he was
Was that
covered in.
supposed to be him? That like popping up monster?
That was some girl who also had teleport abilities. She chased you down that hall, and then you told Catherine to lock the door immediately, right before you got into the diving suit.
Yeah. Just
That
seemed
was all right.
just seemed weird that he would want to destroy you while wanting you to help him destroy the WoW.
Yeah,
There's a fair bit of
I don't think he wanted
plot
to destroy
holes.
you. I think he was like, "Hey, you are the reason I can." Well, no, he wanted to take you out, but then he got eaten by that fish.
Did he? I
After you kill the WoW, a
He gets
fish
eaten by.
he goes like, "Okay, we have to tie up loose ends, and you're one of the loose ends, or something like that." Or you're the only thing. I don't remember. He said something, and he wanted to kill you,
Yeah.
and then a fish came out, and then they ate him.
Was the fish supposed to be WoW?
I don't know. I mean, there's a bunch of mutated fish around that were covered in structure gel, which was all that goop was
Yeah.
just structure gel.
That thing though more looked like a gigantic like water caterpillar.
I don't know what it was, but it was annoying as hell, especially when you're running across that really long area.
Yeah, and
It
then it
just kept
picks you
scooping
up.
up and carrying around in a circle.
Mm-hmm.
I eventually, like, I was near the end. He just kept spinning me in a circle, and I couldn't get down, so I had to
You're
reload a
supposed to
save.
you're supposed to press spacebar.
Oh, I've never. You never press spacebar in this game.
I did a lot.
Hmm.
I mean, it was mostly in the underwater sections. It was faster to do like the sprint jump through the
Huh.
water than it
I
was
just
just to
like waited
sprint.
for them to put me down.
Oh. Yeah, that takes a while if you do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this game is a good 9-act structure.
Yeah.
It's a fair 7 to 10 hours.
Mm-hmm.
The scares in it are a lot better than Machine for Pigs.
Mm-hmm.
All in all, I think it's the best game they've done yet, and I'm scared they just won't keep up with it because they had a lot of what other games don't, which is, you know, a philosophy, a center idea more than it is just central gameplay.
Hmm.
Because not a lot of games ask you questions about yourself or about your humanity or about what it is to have humanity.
Yeah, not very many.
I mean, Dark Souls does it a bit, but the
But
level of
that's
entry for Dark Souls is very, very, very high.
yeah, and people who obsess about the Dark Souls lore are fucking maniacs. So
Yeah. Well, just look at Epic Name Bro. That guy like made his life around that.
is that some YouTube lore thing or something like
So he's a guy who is like a super huge fan of Dark Souls 1.
that?
He's a
Hmm.
big fan of FromSoft, and then he got a job doing like certain translations for Dark Souls 2 along with the
Hmm.
guide. And then he kind of works on the translation stuff for Dark Souls now.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Neat, I'd say.
I watch his videos every upload.
Well, that's very cute.
Yeah. Epic Name
Mm.
Bro, if you're listening, which I know you're not, I love you.
Mm.
Please keep doing Dark Souls playthroughs. It's really weird. Like his playthroughs go so in depth. Like he'll pick up an item and immediately go to the flavor text for it and give you like a 15-minute like escapade of what it means in the universe.
I mean, that's a bit obsessive.
It is, but it's
Dark Souls doesn't have much lore. The point of the Dark Souls lore, I'd say, is to
oh,
be intrigued forever and never really know the answers.
you'd be surprised.
Well, I don't.
If you read
Most
all the flavor text, you get a pretty good idea of the story.
Yeah, that's the lore. It's just flavor text on weapons. There's not much left from that.
I realized like the funny thing about Dark Souls is if you read the flavor text for miracles versus spells, you find out that miracles are just spells that like people in the church were like, yeah, it's a miracle. Spells are bad, but this is a miracle.
Yeah, this is not that pyromancy garbage.
Yeah. Well, if you look at pyromancy, it is a forbidden magic.
Ooh,
Yeah, it's hewn from a different source than magic is.
I thought this was a Soma podcast.
Damn it, you're right.
Not a fucking Dark Souls lore, and
I think we've talked about as much as we can for Soma.
I suppose so. I think there's a few more things I was going to bring up,
Go
but
ahead. If you got something you want to bring up, go ahead.
uh, I'm sure we can cut this part out while I'm thinking. Edit this out in post.
I'm just gonna sing over it.
Oh, sure.
Never wanted to dance with nobody but you. Wouldn't say no phone. That's a you fucking bitch.
Can't sing. You don't have the rights to that song. You can't sing more than 30 seconds.
Wow, never wanted to dance with nobody but you. Wouldn't say no phone. That's a you fucking bitch. Have you thought of what you want to say yet?
No, I haven't.
Damn it.
I think that's about all.
All right. Well, let's give our final thoughts on Soma and sign
Uh,
off. I'll go
I
first.
I'll give it an A out of 10.
I guess you'll go first. All right.
I thought it was, or you can go first, whichever.
What you already did.
No, I haven't. I just gave my score, and then
All
you
right.
give your score, and then yeah. Well,
Now, I'm a big fan of frictional games. Penumbra was pretty much like the second big survival horror series after Silent Hill 2 that I was like, you know what, this is something bigger than just spookiness. Then Amnesia was their huge breakout. Everyone played it. It was kind of the birth of Let's Plays.
yeah, everyone screamed into their webcam about it.
Yeah. Then Soma was kind of their more polished game. Now, I do have a lot of problems with some of the monsters and the idea that it's easier just to run into them, have them disappear, and go on with the game than it is to like actually try to run and hide from them.
I
A
think
lot
what
of
I was going to
times.
talk about was I was going to complain about the monsters a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just kind of they didn't they just kind of felt kind of placed in there. They didn't really.
Yeah, they didn't
They
have a
seemed to
lot.
travel through walls in a way.
Yeah, I noticed one time in that sunken submarine part. I was
Well,
running
that guy
backwards
kind of
watching that guy. They did like the slasher villain teleport, where they just instead of like running fast, they just kind of got closer to you by clipping.
yeah.
So that's annoying, but
Yeah, that part where you have to unplug all those cables from the submarine that the WoW was connected to,
yeah.
and then the waterlogged body comes in,
hmm
and it
Now,
just kind of teleports at you and kills you instantly.
hmm
So you have to like map out your route to the escape pod, and then go back and then do it, and then hope that you can run fast enough and not get caught in any corners to get away from him.
So
That was a
yeah,
bit annoying.
as a whole, Soma's a pretty good game. I really like the atmosphere. The world building is fantastic. The voice acting is really good.
Yeah, the voice acting was a lot better than I expected.
They
They
felt like
had
real people.
yeah,
Especially Simon. I think he is the best everyman a video game has pretty much ever had. He
I
felt
suppose
like
so. I
a
mean, he's just an everyman, and an everyman isn't really supposed to get.
well, he reacted like a regular person. He didn't react as if he was a placeholder for you.
Yeah, he was not a Gordon Freeman or a. Uh,
He had his own opinions. He had his own ideologies.
yeah, you weren't
He had his own
a.
fears.
I was going to compare that to the main character in Bioshock, but I don't remember his name.
Yeah, me neither. But
Yeah,
yeah, if I had to give this game a score, I would probably give it a solid 7 out of 10. It's not the best game ever. It's certainly not the best survival horror ever. But I think it is one of the best games frictional games has put out.
yeah.
So it's a solid 7 out of 10. I don't know if it's worth the $30 to everybody, but it definitely was worth the $30 to me.
Hmm.
If I were a regular everyday gamer, I might wait until it's on sale for like $15.
Yeah, I thought $30 was a bit much for it,
I
but
did.
there is mod support, so I'm sure there'll be some content in the future and maybe DLC or who knows.
Speaking of which, I'm slightly disappointed that the mods aren't as big as they were for Amnesia, but my friend
Well, I
had a
don't
good
think
point.
this game is as big as Amnesia is.
Yeah, exactly. My friend had a good point on
Amnesia
that.
was a name that made a name for itself. It kind of,
Hmm.
because of the Let's Play community and all that, it kind of grew into being really huge.
All right, I think that's it for the podcast.
Yeah,
Thank you for tuning in. I'm Chance Dean Hansen, otherwise known as Chunga the Artist,
and I'm Graham.
otherwise known as
Graham.
Graham.
You can just call me Graham.
Thanks you for listening. Bye, everybody.
Have a good one.
Have a good one.